I move that the apology from Councillor Wong be accepted and the requests for leave of absence be approved. Do we have a seconder? Esther, thank you, Esther. All those in favour? Aye. Motion carried. Declarations of conflict of interest. Is there any declarations of conflict of interest? None. Right. Matters lying on the table. We have one matter lying on the table, which we will be bringing to today's agenda. So a resolution is required that the council resolve to uplift from the table the item entitled Proposed CCTO Governance Manual and consider it as item 3 at this meeting. I'll move. Is the second. All those in favour? Aye. Motion carried. Public forum. We have 5 speakers today, and first off we have Julie. The usual process, 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Julie Scott, Chief Executive of the Community Housing Trust. Just speaking to item 7, Longview, and our request for a guarantee on the Westpac loan for the financing construction of the project that we're doing out there. I just thought I'd give a quick update. So we are underway with construction of the 28 homes at Longview. The first 600 or so are due for completion later this year, so it's trucking along pretty well. We've been paying for so far construction out of our own cash reserves, and we've taken out some lending from ASB using some other security, but we're just about capped out there. So we really do need this loan from Westpac. So this is just to reiterate that it is essential that we get the guarantee to get the good terms with Westpac. Otherwise we can go back to Westpac without that guarantee, but it wouldn't be as attractive terms. And obviously this is the report notes, it falls within the relationship framework agreement. It's provided for there. You know, the RFA, this agreement talks about the partnering concept between the trust and council, and I just feel like this is a really good example of that partnering relationship where it's a little bit of risk from either side, and it just gets great outcomes, and we get to deliver the housing at a more affordable price point, and ultimately that gets passed on to the households. So that's all from me, unless anyone's got any questions on the project.
Thank you, Julie. Well, we'll do 3 minutes. You come back and speak again. Number 2, here.
Kia ora koutou katoa. My name is Pierre Marasti, and I am speaking on behalf of Extinction Rebellion. Cyclone Gabrielle will be a turning point for the country. During this event, 11 New Zealanders have died, while 4 others have already died in the Auckland floods. 851 homes are red stickered. 10,000 cars have been written off. More than 40,000 insurance claims have already been received. 147 roads, 6 state highways, and at least 40 bridges are still closed across the North Islands. Thousands of New Zealanders have lost everything. Many more have been directly affected, and we will all be impacted by the aftermath of this event. Food prices have already risen due to the lost harvest. Generally, this event will create extra inflation, exacerbating even more the cost of living crisis. The central government's first estimate is that the single event will cost the country $13 billion, putting even more pressure on our already strained public services. In the best of times, it would take years for our country to recover from such an event. But the laws of physics do not care about our well-being. From now on, every storm and every drought will become more damaging. Even Cyclone Gabrielle is unlikely to be the worst weather event of this decade. For 40 years, we have been warned that the burning of fossil fuels would create unmanageable climate disasters. Nobody cared, nothing changed, and now we are paying the price for apathy. We need to stop burning stuff. Every liter of petrol we burn adds about 2.5 kilos of CO2 in our atmosphere. Gas does the same, constantly adding up, constantly warming up the planet. This, slowly but surely, is bringing us towards a world where Cyclone Gabrielle becomes a yearly occurrence. We cannot wait for the central government to ban fossil fuel machines and appliances to stop burning them. In 2023, No one should ever buy again a new petrol car, nor a new petrol-powered boat, nor any other petrol-powered tools or toys. The same goes for gas appliances. Why would anyone buy a gas caliphant or a gas cooktop when we have readily available electric alternatives? We can change our legacy fleet of fossil fuel-powered stuff overnight, but we can immediately stop adding up to that deadly heritage. As our elected representatives, we are asking you first to lead by example. Free both yourselves and all council assets from the use of fossil fuels. We are also asking you to communicate about the steps we all need to take to free ourselves from fossil fuels. And lastly, we're asking you to use your consenting powers and to create bylaws to ban the installation of new fossil fuel powered systems in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Dick.
Right, thank you, Your Worship and councillors. I'm speaking today in support of the Community Hub project, and as patron, my wife and I are patrons of the project, so it's sort of appropriate that we have the last word. And I understand that the lease documents have been worked over by council officers who are happy. They've been worked over by the trustees of the trust, and that the decision is made today on ratification of the trust. I think as councillors are aware, a considerable amount of work has gone into it. My wife and I, as patrons, have made a $30,000 contribution to the project. So it's our money as well as our name behind the project. And that with donations to the Community Trust and the ASB have allowed all the feasibility work to be done. In addition, I understand that work is well on the way with raising the funding, roughly a $14 million project, of which $7 million has been committed. And the feeling from those involved with the fundraising is that fundraising is effectively stopped at the moment until such time as the lease is ratified, and that brings that bit of certainty into the equation. I think councils will be all well of the case for a community hub, bringing all the not-for-profits together under one roof, shared services, shared expertise, and shared service to the public. And the case has been set out before council before. And I really just wanted today to make one main point, and that is, and it goes back to my involvement with urban design and urban planning and urban facilities. And that's to quote the Professor Richard Florida, Professor of Urban Planning and Design from America, who did some research on the role of not-for-profits in healthy communities. And he found very, very clearly that there was a distinct correlation between the health of a community and the amount of voluntary work that's done in a community. And that's taking a broad approach to the definition of the health of a community on a balanced scorecard basis. And he found that time and time again, the more voluntary hours that went in from the voluntary sector, the healthier the overall community was. And therefore, I believe, and the trustees believe very strongly, that it's in everyone's interest to foster and encourage the not-for-profit sector. And we believe that the Hub project does that by giving recognition to the importance of the not-for-profit area, the services they provide, as well as providing the structure, the chance for them to relate together, the chance for them to get synergies from the work that they do there. And we believe that endorsement of this project sends a very, very powerful message to the community and to the not-for-profits as to their role and their importance. And that, Your Worship and councillors, is my final pitch on the Hub project as of now.
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Pleasure.
John.
Wish I could be as straightforward as speaking like this, just pass these. There is one if it goes through.
That's all right, we'll catch up with it later.
Your worship, there. Kia ora, I'm John Hilhorst, representing Flight Plan 2050. I'd like to congratulate you all for endorsing the destination Queenstown, the destination management plan at your last meeting. And I'd also like to acknowledge the leadership and courage of our business community for its plans of a zero carbon, or its aspirations for a zero carbon future. This report brings focus to the challenge before us. It's a comprehensive assessment of the international visitor flight emissions of those who visit our district. You'll see it presents evidence that our district's economy is New Zealand's most polluting, with the highest emissions per resident, per job, and per dollar earned. It's sobering. We see, for example, the emissions per resident, 227 tonnes, way higher than any other region in New Zealand. We see the emissions per dollar earned in GDP in this district, way higher than any other region in New Zealand. Indeed, if we compare it with the New Zealand dairy industry, the emissions per dollar earned in our international visitor flight economy is 4.4 times worse than the New Zealand dairy industry, which of course is under the pump. And it's set to get worse. The growth projections, visitor growth projections in council's annual and spatial plans would add an additional 340 million tonnes of these emissions into the atmosphere by 2050. Just for perspective, that's more than 4 times New Zealand's total emissions in a year at the moment. So 4 times just from this district's economy. No amount of mode shift to public transport or saving of plastic cups could ever put an end into such a catastrophic outcome for climate change. A new approach is essential, and our business community is showing brave leadership. But the most powerful organisation with the most influence is this council. It controls our district plan, the annual plans, the spatial plan, and it owns the airport that owns most of Franklin Flats. Using these, you could structurally change the urban landscape of our district to systemically develop alternative economic foundations. You, the people at this table, have the power, and we ask you to act boldly. Thank you very much.
And John and Kerry. Upward.
Whoops. Thank you for the opportunity of speaking today. As most of you know who I am, for those that don't, I'm Kerry Lemire-Seek, and we own Ladies Mile Pet Lodge. I'd like to highlight the importance today of Waka Kotahi's plan to relocate the access of our properties at 465 and 467 Ladies Mile in order to provide our clients, our tenants and ourselves a safe passage out of our property. Given the close proximity of our driveway, approximately 70 metres from the proposed roundabout at the junction of Howard's Drive and State Highway 6. And I refer to your agenda item under land disposal and road alignment, attachment B. This can only be achieved with Waka Kotahi's ability to do a land swap with QLDC in regard to the unformed paper road to the west of our property to provide the new access, which is before you today to make that decision.
So Kerry, I don't know if that's before us, it's on the southern side.
Well, it's presented in a plan.
Okay, just, I know we've
No,
got to
no,
be careful here.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that correction.
We understand Waka Kotahi's design plan for the roundabout is only approximately 30% completed. So we've yet to give our full agreement until such time as we see the completed plan. But most importantly, be guaranteed that we will have legal access onto the fourth leg or arm when it is developed. We'd like to point out the proposed development of Howard's Drive roundabout is to improve the operation of the intersection for all, and safety being a major concern given the increased number of accidents at this junction. We've worked with Waka Kotahi to achieve the safest option of access and also ensuring the health and well-being of our boarding pets. And I'd like to just finish to say that this is not a new thing in the last 2 years. I was just looking back over my information, and we started this process in regard to the proposal of the roundabout and an underpass at Ladies Mile on the 3rd of July 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kerry. That's all for public speaking. We have one petition before us, and that's with Margot Kane. Our understanding orders a petition being presented, which I have a copy here. You're entitled to speak for 5 minutes. That's you.
Thank you for having me this afternoon. I'm just here to present the petition regarding the drag queens reading for children in public library. As you all know, children are the most miraculous gift we could ever hope to be given. Before having children, I would not have thought it possible to be able to love in the way we love our children. We would all sacrifice everything for the sake of our children. At present, children are being bombarded by hypersexuality and gender confusion messaging, including storytime reading by drag queens in our local libraries. I just want to read you a definition from Wikipedia of a drag queen. A drag queen is a person, usually male, who uses drag clothing and makeup to imitate and often exaggerate female gender signifiers and gender roles for entertainment purposes. In modern times, drag queens are associated with gay men and gay culture, but people of other genders and sexual identities also perform as drag queens. Drag shows frequently include lip syncing, live singing, and dancing. They occur at events such as gay pride parades, carnivals, and drag pageants in venues such as cabarets and nightclubs. To me, that doesn't sound like preschool entertainment. Can you just think for a minute how confusing all that makeup and wigs, etc. is for a small child? Women are usually represented by their mother, but not too many mothers look like this. Men are represented by their father, not too many fathers look like this. So we have an exaggerated female with a male voice. They then go to school and are told changing genders like changing your clothes, another confusing concept. Is it any wonder our mental health stats of young children are through the roof? Our children are very privileged to grow up in this beautiful area. Can't we just let them be children? Why do we need to have their minds filled with all these confusing and complicated concepts? I feel it's time we started to say no thank you to the corruption of our children's precious minds. The library should be a bastion of literature, not a venue for an adult expression of the LGBT community. I'm not interested in a person's race, colour, sexuality, or religion. Hence, I have nothing against the LGBT community, but what they choose to do with their bodies and their lives is their own business. In fact, they need our love and support, as it's a very hard road. In spite of all the big smiles and colourful clothing, there's a lot of pain and misery. To change one's gender is very traumatic. The drugs have ghastly side effects. The surgery is fraught with problems. You just need to read some of the testimonials of those who have transitioned. We want our children to lead happy and healthy lives. So why would we want to sow seeds of gender confusion into them? You are leaders of the community, and you have the power to protect the children from this and return the library to a safe haven for literature as it's always known to be. I just ask that you please consider this issue very carefully and have the courage to stand up and protect our children. As Kennedy said, evil prevails when good men do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Righto, moving on. Confirmation of agenda. That the agenda be confirmed without addition or alteration. I'll move. Seconder. Thank you, Cody. All those in favour? Aye. Confirmation of the meetings of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 9th of February 2023. Comments? I'll move that the minutes of the public part of the ordinary meeting of the Queenstown Lakes District Council held on 9th of February 2023 as amended be confirmed as a true and correct record. For the seconder. Thank you, Barry. All those in favour? Aye. Motion carried. Item 1, page 17 of your council papers. Annual plan consultation document. We have with us Megan Miller. Oh, and Stu. Welcome, Stu. Over to you.
We have not had any feedback or changes raised by any elected members, so we're happy to take the item as read and answer any questions.
Any questions, councillors?
I had a few. I'm sorry, I didn't realise we were meant to be throwing the questions back.
It's helpful.
Sorry, I should know that, shouldn't I? Yeah, well, okay. Let's go to page 11.
11 of the document.
Of the document.
Documents, that's page 31 of the papers, councillor.
No, sorry. Go to 13. Sorry.
13. 33.
Yeah, just making a point in asking the question, we talk about there on the left-hand side, internal external resource availability. Just trying to check. There's still option for internal submissions. I'm just questioning whether we can actually achieve what we have put in the plan and the capital works. And there's still option for internal submissions, I understand, during the submission process or not from staff.
Which document? Yes, the internal submission process is available, and we're calling for those presently, and they will be presented to councillors with the external submission pack.
Okay.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, I think what page you're talking about, page 13 of the actual draft in the plan, not the consultation.
Oh, sorry, I'm good. Sorry, man.
So that most councillors turn to consultation document. Clarifying that.
Okay.
Any further questions on?
Oh, yeah, there's a spelling mistake on page 7.
that was put in deliberately.
Yeah, I know. Just on page 19 of the it's just I just noticed we keep talking about the transport main new projects, 10.7 million to Arthurs Point Road. Now, what about the 1.5 million that's been allocated from that money to the Wanaka active travel? For some reason, it's never mentioned anywhere in the annual plan. What's happened to that? It was provided at the same time, same money.
If there's anything happened to it, it's just
Okay.
a matter of journalistic license in terms of what's emphasised and what's not.
Okay, yeah, well, it's actually in the statements later on. It's not even identified. Sorry, let's go through to the. Find the right page. Page 40. Skip on that. The state, yeah, it's the bottom line, the operating surplus. Can you please explain? I had this, I've raised it with the report too. When we budget for a $53 million surplus, and yet we're having a 13. We've got to explain a 13% rates increase. Just trying to understand how we explain that to the public. What's the reason for that?
That's a good question, Lyle. It's relatively easily answered. In accounting doctrine, all of our revenue has to be reported as operating revenue, but in that operating revenue, you'll see things that are actually funding capital works. So part of the surplus are things that actually are not available to distribute as profit, as you would in a corporation. You've got items like vested assets, like development contributions, like capital subsidy from NZTA that sit in operating revenue.
Okay.
So probably the better statement to look at is the funding impact statement, which is more of a cash in, cash out position. So the reason for that surplus is that when you add up the capital items of revenue, you pretty much come back to close to zero or even deficit.
Yeah.
Because we don't fund all of the depreciation.
Okay. I think that's much better. I'll leave it at that. I understand that.
But if you've got other questions, please fire through on an email and I'll get them back to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Just going, well, I just wanted to touch on the first paragraph of the report. So it says that council is satisfied it can rely on the analysis of year 3 of the 10-year plan, the previous 10-year plan, for the basis of this annual plan. I mean, is that correct? Because really this bears almost no resemblance to year 3 of the 10-year plan and, you know, has $100 million of deferrals. I mean, can we rely on the 10-year plan as the basis for this, or is this a completely new thing?
It's largely we can rely on the base budgets, but they're the starting point. Obviously, for any known changes, we make adjustments, and that's one of the purposes of the annual plan, to explain where there are differences. And we've gone to lengths in the document to explain what those differences are.
Okay, and thank you. And running to those differences, you have, look, I think the commentary in the document is reasonably useful in explaining the challenges that we are faced. I mean, can you just speak to, it refers in many cases to the weather tightness, leaky homes, leaky building claims and the like. Can you just explain the extent to how we have minimised the impact of those on our ratepayers? You know, what mechanisms we've used, borrowing, you know, what is it, how long's it been paid off over, you know, who else could pay for it, all those sort of things. Just why we, you know, it's clearly a big impact. Are we minimising that impact and how we don't?
Through you, Mr. Chair. We've done a number of things that mitigate the impact. It's not good practice to have a large impost on the current set of ratepayers. So we have borrowed to make those settlements, and in order to, you know, spread that cost, we have obviously incurred interest, and we're making loan repayments. The additional QAC dividend that we've received enabled us to fund the repayments in the 23-24 year, proposed payments through that mechanism. That's available to repay debt. If we hadn't done that, the rate impact would have been much higher. It's probably double the impact we've got there, probably an 8% impact on rates. So they are the two main things we've done. So we've loan funded and we've used the QAC to fund the repayments of the loan, but the interest will fall to all ratepayers.
Hypothetically, if we were to wear the cost of those claims in a single year, what would that mean?
It would be horrendous.
Yeah,
It would not be sustainable. Would not.
The rating impact would be in
wouldn't be acceptable.
In the hundreds of percents, or in the.
Yes, probably.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Obviously, today we're looking to adopt the annual plan support document, so I just wanted to ensure that the public know that that's clear. We've been exposed to a huge amount of risk through the water tightness claims that have been talked about in the document. And I guess for our community, how do we ensure to them that this isn't going to happen again? We are in a situation where central government, or the law as it stands, leaves us as the last man standing. And with that comes risk. So I just wondered if you can speak to any of that in a generic term as to, I know it's crystal ball gazing.
There are a number of strands in that
yeah,
we probably need to look at. Current claims we've got 3 or 4 claims that are on the books. None of them are at the scale that we've seen in those two Oaks properties. So it's not to say that there will not be another. And we're talking about buildings that were completed 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so there is a limitation period in terms of when people can make claims. And we're reaching the end of this, we're reaching the end of that. The other is assurance around the process that has resulted in these claims, and that's pretty much our building inspection and building consent process. So I would say that the standard we have to meet these days compared to 20 years ago is quite different, and we are audited regularly on those processes externally, and we've certainly got a lot of confidence that the way we operate now is appropriate.
Thank you. That's all my question. Thanks.
Any further questions? Okay, anyone care to move before us? Cody will move, so let's note the contents of this report and adopt the 2023-24 annual plan supporting documents and adopt the 2023-24 annual plan consultation documents. Moved by Cody, seconded by Barry. All those in favour? Aye. Motion carried. Item 2, Queenstown Airport Corporation Statement of Intent, page 41. Your papers, councillors. We have Megan as well. Over to you.
Thank you. Happy to take the report as read and answer any questions. I would just like to acknowledge that today we do have the chairperson of the QLDC and the general manager and chief executive present. So thank you for attending.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you. Any questions?
To the chair. Thank you. I just want to start by just making a comment if I can, Your Worship. And having had a bit of longevity around the table, I've seen a few of these come past, and it gets well picked over by councillors, and so it should. And it will continue with this council and councils into the future, because that is the process. But for me, in the time that I've sat around this table, the QAC is a much different entity than what it was when I first arrived here. They are hearing the rhetoric from various sectors of the community, and that will be ongoing, in my opinion only. They are reacting, and I have the utmost faith in the CE and the board this time around to do their job and deliver for the community. So I support this SOI. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to QAC. I kind of want to iterate a similar sentiment. So today we're here to, the resolution is just to note the report and to consider and agree any feedback. And we have the SOI in front of us and we have the opportunity to give that feedback. So it's really just to say thank you. I agree that the process has gained much more clarity from our scrutiny on our side of the relationship. And I think that's going to stand us in good stead going forward. And thank you for the communication and the opportunity to communicate more often as well as part of this SOI. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree with comments from the councillors. We've had the strategy. We put out a statement of engagement. We've got an SOI that reflects that. So I suggest that the resolution be changed to agree the SOI delivered on the 1st of March, because what we want to do is get on there and get involved in our involvement with the development of the master plan. And so I would like to move the resolution, but with the second one being agree under section 65.2 of the Act, the SOI delivered to it by QAC on the 1st of March 2023. Full stop.
So that's, so are you formally?
If I'm allowed to, I'll formally
move it.
Yes.
We have a motion on the table, councillors. There is second. You happy to say? So just to be clear, got one. Oh,
yes.
So you're saying instead of note,
Well, it was put in the commentary here, there's an option of agreeing it rather than just noting it. I'm moving that number one stays as is, and
Yep.
number two is agree under section 65 brackets 2 of the Act, comma, the SOI delivered to by QAC on the 5th of March 2023. So we're agreeing it, full stop.
But then we can't give any feedback.
so you're foregoing any
Well, we
feedback.
go through the project, once we've agreed it, it's on the table, we have the option at some of the further stage, if we want to review it or bring it up again, we can. All I'm saying is, we've seen it, we've done all this work on it, we should agree it now, move on, get on with the master plan, and if we've got any issues with the SOI during this period, then we raise it as we were able to do in the formal process. It's been moved, so.
Thank you, Your Worship. You're quite right, Lyle, that is an option available to you. I suppose I would only speak to the fact that as a council, we've adopted a very transparent approach to this process, which enables not just elected members, but the entire community to be able to view the draft. Actually, at this stage, I believe I am correct that it remains a draft. So the board, the next step is for us to give feedback, and the board still needs to adopt the SOI, and then our process is to agree it. So we could agree it today, and the board could retrospectively adopt it. I don't think that creates any issue, but there is still the opportunity for your fellow councillors who may choose to give feedback to the draft SOI. So I guess the proof is in whether your change is agreed.
I don't support approving it today. I think it is useful to have a feedback loop in the system. And I think it's useful for particularly this new council having really tabled an SOI for the first time to have the opportunity to have that feedback loop. I think is really useful with the board, with the QAC board and chief executive. So I don't support that. I think it is robust to go through what we've done over the last few years, and I think it gives us a little bit more. I think there are still details of this, and I mean I mentioned in previous discussions is that the SOI is reasonably silent on the major assets that QAC own at Wanaka Airport, being the land surrounding Wanaka Airport. I'd like to see some more information regarding that. It is referred to in the letter, but it points us largely to the master plan in that regard. So I think there's a little bit of work to do. I think there's a lot that is pleasing about the direction of this document, but I think that feedback loop is important.
Yeah, I don't support that motion because I don't see an advantage in doing so. What we have is a really good, transparent process in front of us, which is to consider and agree on feedback. I don't know why we'd compromise that. Thanks.
Any further comment? Yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from, Lyle, but when I first stepped into this chair, I made a point that I'd like to keep the process the same as what we followed in the previous term. And then as a new council, once this is done, we would develop our own. I feel that this is now open to the public. There's a transparent process that will follow. I think next year and the following couple of years, once we've established a process amongst ourselves, that sort of option could be on the table. So I appreciate where you're coming from here, but again, I think we should just follow the process before us. Before we do just a procedural one that this fails, we just go back to the original resolution. Yeah, okay.
Well, if you want to change it, we'll move an amendment to the motion, and it'll become a substantive motion. We've got a motion. We're going to move. Get the motion moved on the table, so you can move an amendment back to noting it, and then that becomes a substantive motion, and then we vote on that. That's the way it's
the motion, isn't it?
Couldn't we just? I could just ask you.
I could withdraw it.
Yeah, and then we can go through it again.
So you have a number of options. You could try to amend Lyle's, Councillor Cox's one. You could vote on it and it could fail, and you could go back and move the motion as on the papers.
which is probably the most practical thing to do, because in fact, you're doing either or, you're not trying to amend. I don't think I hear you trying to amend Councillor Cox's position. I think we're taking alternative positions here. So I think either the best option is for the motion to be put and for it to pass or be defeated. If it's defeated, you can go back to the on the papers, or if Councillor Cox chooses to withdraw his motion.
I'll put it to the vote.
No, well, I'm sorry, we're arguing process now. I've well understood. We've got a motion. So someone moves an amendment back to note, then that gets voted on. If it passes, then it becomes a substantive motion. So it's just 2 more votes.
No, well, sorry, I disagree.
Okay. Sorry, okay, well, back off. So I don't want to hold things up.
No. So we'll put it to the vote.
Yeah, put it.
Okay. All those in favour?
Aye.
All those against? Motion lost. So we're back to the original motion that's on our papers. Someone needs to put that to us.
I'll put that to you.
Okay, so we've got to move Esther, and I'll second. We've got the papers in front of you, the motion in front of you. Just to be clear, note that the QAC is a council-controlled trading organisation as per Section 6 of the LGA 2002, and therefore must comply with Section 64 of the Act. It requires all CCOs to have a statement of intent that meets the requirements of Schedule 8 and 2. This is the one here. Note under Section 65(2) of the Act, the SOI is delivered by QAC on 1 March 2023 and direct the Mayor to issue any agreed feedback. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? Passed unanimously. Thanks. We got there.
I'm not trying to be difficult.
No, I agreed with what you're saying now in terms of process there.
Okay. Item 3, proposed CCTO governance manual, page 70 on your papers. Now we have Niall.
Niall's my support person today.
Oh, yes. Through the road.
We also have online, your worship, Wynne Williams. We have Alice Bowden joining us online. Welcome, Alice.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm not there in person.
Right. Would you wish me to? Yes. Thank you, your worship. So, councillors, we have a paper which was lying on the table, which you've agreed to consider today. We considered this back in December. We have had an opportunity to have further interaction around this guideline. It is your guideline, and the feedback has been very much appreciated. Today, we would like to make transparent a number of track changes. We have Alice online if you have any further questions, but I'd like to put those changes up now. Elected members, you do have these changes in front of you. This is not the version that is in the agenda, just for the clarity of anyone watching online. This is an amended, these are amendments to that version, which we have worked through since December. So I'm not going to, is that the first slide? So what we will do is, depending on where we get to today, there is public interest in this guideline. So obviously, if we do agree this guideline today, subject to the amendments, then we will post the guideline and make it publicly available. We've talked about it before that this is a new guideline and that it is a live document. So as we work through this process, I think we're all pretty comfortable that this perhaps becomes the first thing that we consider as we go through an annual process to consider a statement of expectation and a statement of intent, just to refresh ourselves on what the governance role is around in a CCTO setting. So there are quite a few changes in terms of the wording, so I don't intend to read through it. I'm assuming you have this in front of you or have had an opportunity to consider it, and that I'm open to any questions other than we will need to make an amendment to the resolution, which would be to receive the QLDC, CCO, CCTO governance manual in line with the amendments as a reference document. So I intend just making it that simple today.
Thank you, Megan. Questions, councillors? Esther?
I just saw you flick that through on the screen, but the version that you sent me through this morning reads differently to that, and I'm a bit confused.
I've taken this version from the version I sent to you
this morning
explicitly. Yeah.
So it should be the same.
Well, I'd like to say it is the same.
Oh, can we just go, like, for example, onto 1.3, because that's what I just
Okay.
saw. Sorry. I just,
All right. Make sure.
okay, so mine reads, unless my eyes aren't working. So mine reads, CCOs are commonly companies and therefore generally operate as commercial entities that exercise commercial judgment. But on the screen, it's different. So what's happened to mine versus the one on the screen is that must is crossed out on mine and must is crossed out on mine, but it's not on the screen.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I see that.
yeah, so I don't know what's happened in that translation, but we need to be, unfortunately, we do need to be looking at the same document, I think.
Well, what we got seen out just before is.
Well, that's what I'm looking at, yeah.
So we're approving this doc, these are the amendments we're going from. So
Yeah, but
wherever we go with this vote, this is the document we refer to, not what's on the screen.
I've got a suggestion to make because I think this could be, and apologies, I don't know why we have something different, but I'd like to please pause on this so I can go away and check absolutely that we have the same versions. The intention is the document that you were circulating today, but I would like that to be for your reassurance, correct on the screen. I think something's happened with track changes is what I think.
Yeah,
And
because the
something-
language is still there, but the cross.
Yeah, something hasn't accepted there. So on that basis, I'm quite happy to go away and spend 10 minutes now and just make an absolute cross-reference to make sure that all the changes are captured. Otherwise, we could just be stepping through this.
Yeah.
We can just
Suspend this one.
suspend this item and then we can move on to another item while we go away.
Vote on that one?
I don't think so. We don't need to vote on that.
No.
It's not a.
Alice, did you have anything to add there? Let's just have a take 10 minutes. Apologies, everybody, and we'll make sure that we're consistent in what we're putting in front of us.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll suspend this item for now. Officers will go away and just tidy up those admin things and we'll move on through to item 4. Okay, so item 4, page 90. Proposed update for policy of the appointment of and remuneration of directors. Niall.
Other than sort of to highlight that this paper has previously gone to the governance subcommittee, as is the process for it to be reviewed and recommended. Ordinarily, this would have come just as an item through the CE's report, but the Deputy Mayor was quite keen that for the in the interests of just allowing you all a greater opportunity to have a look at the policy and give some wider interest in CCOs and CTO kind of activity, really just to give you that greater visibility over it. So I'm sort of highlighting that. I'm happy to take the paper as read and take any questions of them.
Questions? Councillors? No questions? Well, I'll be happy to move to note the contents of the report and adopt the revised policy on the appointment and remuneration of directors. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Ferg. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Motion carried. Thank you, Noel. Item 5, Hallett's Drive roundabout. Yeah. Tony and Tony.
Tony twins.
Tony twins.
It's the only way.
You could say one too many, but I won't say which one. Over to you, Tony.
Might need across the two.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 5, dealing with the disposal of land road legalisation on Ladies Mile around the Howard's Drive roundabout. Critical intersection in the transport network and critical part of our spatial planning in and around Ladies Mile. The agenda item requests or recommends various steps through the technical process for disposal of land and road legalisation. I would also just, I guess the key point here is to refer to recommendation number 1. This is the result of an outcome from a public hearing or a publicly notified hearing about the issues about disposal of land from 516 Ladies Mile being council property. And I just draw your attention to number 1, approval, but also 1A, the tree mitigation agreement, which was the outcome from that previous hearing. Other than that, the report has been put together by our technical consultants at APL. Here to answer any questions.
Questions, councillors?
Thank you. So we heard from a speaker today and it just threw me a little.
No. Speaker was talking about the opposite side of the roundabout. It has no bearing or reflection on this report.
Okay, that's basically my question is around, is that? It's
no, I can tell you that, no.
Okay, that's fine then. Thank you. My question that I didn't ask has been answered.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Go Lyle and then.
Oh, just a question on the, have you got the map, the one with the drawing of all the alien.
What's page?
Page
114.
Purple one, B.
It's like 114.
The overview plan, then you got attachment B.
Page, that's page 114, Eugene.
Attachment B. Oh, yes, you will see a 114. So we're talking about the, I just got nothing to do with the landscape, but we're talking about road exchange down on the, is that the 4th leg, is it?
Mm-hmm.
What's the road exchange with? Road exchanging what?
The road exchange here, as I understand, is to work with the neighbouring or adjacent property to be allowed to form the road within the geometric boundaries of this design. Essentially shoving it over to one side to accommodate that use.
Oh, okay.
So effectively, we're shifting the alignment across, so from the green to the blue.
Ah.
And that's to do with being able to gain access to that land.
And is there any, well, people at the hearing might be answered, it seems a large area that we've been asked to sell for that random. I suppose it's all part of the design, is it? It seems quite extreme.
Sorry, it's part of the design, but also the physical, I mean, it doesn't show up particularly well on this overlay, but if you see the actual position of the circle of the roundabout, and take that outwards, then that's why the widened area is needed to ensure that there is enough geometric approaches to that roundabout.
Perhaps the next diagram on page 115.
Yeah, that
might show that sort of extent better.
And the last question, where's the money going? Probably going to spend the money on that.
That's a future decision, I'd say.
I don't think there's.
Well, I don't think there's any spare money here. To be fair.
Oh, so we're going to use it, we can't just use it to put in some.
No, we cannot. We know where you're going. Sorry,
So we should also identify that there is an impact on trees here. We do have Jeannie here for some questions about that. She's been involved with that. So question.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that the alignment of trees along Ladies Mile was reflected and obviously of value to the community, and we inserted an additional requirement in there for Waka Kotahi to come up with a tree plan to come back to us in the final agreement to make sure that there's a proper outcome that's going to be good amenity and do the best to. We can't stop the trees we can't build the roundabout and keep the trees, but we'll do our best to make sure there's a proper plan to replace them.
Me again. Thanks. So I just wanted to note that, yeah, a lot of work's been put into thinking about the trees. So the public, I know, but this will be very emotive. The Howard's Drive intersection, had several submissions. They were about equal weighting, for and against. But the safety is obviously a key driver. And it has been noted by staff that we use the two for one tree policy, and that where trees can be transplanted, they will be. And the new trees that will be planted will be set back. So again, I guess it's just about noting that this is that compromise of safety and, you know, trying to ensure the best by the nature and character of the road as well. So thanks for staff's work on that.
I'm still just a little bit unclear with the road exchange. Just go back to the additional comment that Esther made about the submitter we heard earlier. That is a land exchange, but does it affect property from the submitter we heard? Or is it another property? No, it's part of this report though, isn't it? That's what we are.
So my understanding is that if you go back to page 114, the green bit of land which is currently on the existing unformed legal road would be transferred, I understand, to the adjacent property, and we're taking over blue, and that's to provide access into that site, which would have been otherwise compromised by the roundabout and access off the state highway.
Which adjacent property though is, I guess, my question.
The blue, that's off that's the adjacent property, which I have been discussing with purchasing that land. And the green, as I understand it, was to provide for access onto that site, because their access off the state highway would be removed because of the proximity of the roundabout.
I'm unclear which site that land's going to though, because there's two sites in there, I think. One at the corner, Pet Lodge, there's another one behind it.
No, I don't think so. Have you said behind it?
Oh, there's on page 114.
This is the same owners.
No properties rely on that green area for access.
Right.
It's a paper road. It's in separate ownership.
It's currently trees all down to it's not used. So that would become a future route into that. What is the northern side of Ladies Miles, despite it actually showing here in the southern.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, the submitter's question was about access to the property. She's not a submitter. It's not, she's not a submitter. Okay.
So I think my understanding is that this has been negotiated with that property owner to ensure access is maintained. If this is adopted, then that provides for that, right?
I think we've just got to relitigate things that were considered through a hearings process.
Yeah.
And that is why the public forum was limited to comments that were outside the area that has already been debated and agreed through a proper hearings process.
Okay.
I suppose just at a high level, I mean, it'd be reasonable to assume firstly that Waka Kotahi wouldn't act to isolate a property without providing an alternative access, roading access, and secondly that it does have legal access to the paper road that comes off the potentially have legal access to the paper road that comes off the new roundabout leg. So while there may be changes to it, I think we can have confidence that Waka Kotahi will act in good faith to resolve those issues, and it's their place to do that, not ours. So would that be fair?
That's correct. Yeah. And I mean, Waka Kotahi, as an agency, is obligated to ensure that practical access remains to any property, irrespective of changes. So this will be taken care of.
Sorry, just one more question, just on the trees that have been raised, on the page 116, I know it's not the tree plan, I assume not the tree plan, this is an indicative tree replanting plan. I see them taking the liberty of planting new trees on council land, I think, rather than on that darker green bit, which is, I guess, the road reserve. Is there any discussion on that, or was that that still would be agreed? See what I'm talking about?
So which page is it now?
Page 116, it's got a great picture of the roundabout.
I can
Bring it.
So the discussions we've been having with Wakakotahi, because of 516 and the uncertainties around how that will be developed, we couldn't agree specific placements for the trees. So we've got a legal agreement between the two parties to record that Wakakotahi will essentially fund the tree replacements at a time that we've been able to agree where they go. So that's why that's just an indicative plan.
So what, I was wondering why on the dark agreement, which I presume is Wakakotahi property if we sell it, why haven't they put the trees on there? Well, they've got them on further round, but it's, anyway, it's not always.
Not really looking at the same.
So Jenny, I think the side when suggests that there are new trees planted on council land adjacent to the roundabout, not on Wakakotahi.
That's correct, because Wakakotahi land will be sightlines and road essentially.
Okay.
So it looks as though we'll be accepting some of that planting on our own property.
Thank you.
Any further questions, councillors? Or ask for a mover and second. I just want to thank the hearings panel for the effort there and the chair.
All right, well done for stepping up again.
Okay, you have the motion, the proposed resolution before you. I'm not going to read out all 8. Nothing has changed. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Cody. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Lisa. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? Motion carried. I do see the General Manager of Services here, Megan. We sorted out our little technical issue. We'll move on to back to item 3, page 17.
Through you, Your Worship, I'm very glad to report that both myself and Alice Baum have now been through line by line, and there was just one mistake or inadequate or difference, and that was the one that you spotted in the first. So we have changed that. I think now I can put the PowerPoint up. But look, I do want to reassure you, we have just been through line by line. What you have in terms of the version that I sent you this morning today is exactly what is online. Those 2 words have now been changed, and I have no idea how that could have happened other than it must have been some sort of track change anomaly. Blame the technology, I say.
We'll go with that. Thank you, Jim.
So as you were, thank you.
Any questions? Oh, anything, Aaron?
Oh, no question. I was going to move.
Oh, just allow Gav in fairness, Lyle, you had a few questions in the last.
I know.
That's right.
So sorry, I didn't get a chance to get back to you before today, but on the table under 7, section 7, the table that on the modified or the amended agenda, it's on page 1. But anyway, on the table, there's a section that says final SOI. The board must adopt and deliver the final SOI to shareholders. The date, it's in the next box, says the 30th of June. It says before the commencement of the financial year, should that change to the 1st of July?
They need to deliver it by the 30th of June, with the commencement being from 1 July.
But it refers to the commencement of the financial year, 30th of June.
Alice, do you have any more light you can shed on that? But I think that's actually what's within the Act.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 1 July was mentioned somewhere in another document. As a date, that's why I'm querying it.
I think possibly the SOI refers to the commencement of the SOI from 1 July. That's certainly do have the Act here, so if you want me to check, but we could certainly check that for you.
I'll just double check that now.
Thanks, Alice.
It does say before the commencement, so before the 31st of July wouldn't be out of order, but anyway.
In practice, we.
Go, Alice.
Oh, just in practice, we always require it as early as possible anyway, because we like to have it agreed before the start of the next financial year.
Whether maybe it's referred to in the clause of schedule 8.
I'll double check.
Thank you, Alice. While Alice checks, you got.
Yeah, the other question I did have, it was raised, I think, by one of the other councillors about some more definition at some point about our relationship with the other shareholder, or, in general terms, another shareholder, if there is one. I know you mentioned it, Alice, if you hadn't looked at it at this stage, but I just wonder whether we couldn't, keep that in mind in the future when we review this at some point. Which leads me to my other suggestion, was that we haven't allowed in what we've got before us today to review it at any point in time. We've talked about having a review period. And the last, I think that where we got to with that was perhaps after we've gone through the full process of agreeing with statement of intent.
What are you referring to review?
The manual.
Oh, the manual.
Yeah, so that at some point in time we do a review of it, and maybe the point we talked about was after the statement of intent process is complete. And we can then bring it onto the table again at some point. If there's anything that will come from that process.
It's not a statutory document by any means, it's a guideline. But I think what we talked about was potentially if there was a will, we could bring it back after the process, so post June, and have a bit of a open session about did it give us what we needed, were there any gaps and so on. If elected members would like to have that conversation. I don't need to have a formal resolution for that. I can note that and we can make that happen.
Right, okay. Thank you, Megan. Any further questions? Oh, sorry, Alice, yes.
I've just checked that provision, and the reference in the Act is just to the commencement of the financial year, which you're right, would be 1 July. But I think the reason why we've put 30 June in there has developed out of practice of wanting the document in order to fit in a council meeting before the start of the financial year, so it could be agreed.
Does enable us to consider it in June.
Yeah.
And then they kick off their financial year from 1 July. But I don't think is it material at all in terms of the timing? I don't see that it is, and I've got the reference here too. It doesn't specify the date. But if it's problematic for you, I don't.
No, it's not problematic for me, but it's just the way it reads is
Yeah. We could tweak the wording to express a preference for it to be by 30 June.
Well, the commencement of financial year. I think in my mind it doesn't need to say one or the other.
Well, we could actually just take the date out.
Yeah.
The financial year, which is what the Act actually says.
Okay, just so that bit there, we're just following the Act.
Okay.
The Act's wording, right?
We'll delete 30 June. Thank you for picking that up.
All good. Now, I know it should.
I'm happy to move with that amendment.
Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Esther. Now, just to be clear, because we've got it, it's different from what's written in front of you. So it's 1, note the contents of the report, and 2, receive the QLDC CCO/CCTO governance manual in line with amendments as a reference document. I'm going to move and second. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Item 6, page 121. QEC surplus land lease. Happy to move.
I don't mind if you have to leave it.
Hang on. Well, before we start, we've got some eager beavers here, Tony. But okay, the councillors are all over it. They've pretty much read everything. Have you got anything further to add to the? Nothing further to add.
Nothing else said.
You're going to burst the bubble that the eager beavers have, or we've got some questions? No questions, so.
Happy to move.
Happy to move. And seconder, Ferg. It's all in front of you there, nothing's changed. All those in favour?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carried. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7, request for council guarantee in favour of the Queenstown Lakes Community Housing Trust, page 172 rather, sorry. Stu.
As you heard in public forum, Julie, council has had a request from the trust to support its financing of the Longview subdivision development in Hawea. And in line with the relationship agreement that we have, providing that sort of guarantee is something we've done in the past, and there's something anticipated in the agreement. This is really a process matter in terms of getting the council approval to move ahead with that, putting that guarantee in place. One change I'd like to make to the recommendation.
Go for it. Sorry, go for it, Stu. What's the change?
And I've just got this from Brendan, our general counsel, and it's really to make it clear that the documentation that we'll finally sign will be subject to a legal review, so not necessarily what's in the pack. That's indicative in terms of the deed. So he would like to add to 2 and delegate to the chief executive the authority to negotiate, agree and sign the terms of the relevant documentation to give effect to this resolution.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. And delegate to the chief executive the authority to negotiate, agree and sign the terms of the relevant documentation to give effect to this resolution.
Questions, councillors?
The deed document itself. Is it clear in there that there's a limitation on the?
It will be, as part of that legal review that we go through when we finally sign.
It's not written in there at the moment, though, it's not.
No, and there's reverse indemnity that the trust provide to council for that same amount. So council will be covered by any loss.
Can I ask why the amendment has been put forward to delegate the CE to negotiate rather than coming back to full council? Just
It's not
explain.
really a negotiation as such, it's just the wording of the deed. So
Okay.
So the intent is there, there's no intent to change it, but there'll just be the whatever final documentation gets signed up.
basic terms will be as in the resolution and as in the paper. It's just we need to complete the legal review in order to make sure that's appropriate to sign. So council's interest to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Further questions? Happy to move. Happy to move. We've got one move. We're doing it. Lisa. Okay, thank you. So motion before us is 1, note the contents of this report, and I'll have to check up on me on this one, Stu. 2, approve the council providing the deed of guarantee in favour of the Queenstown Lakes Community Housing Trust for its nominee for an amount of $2 million to secure the loan from Westpac for the Longview development at Hawea, providing that the trust indemnifies council against all liabilities arising out of the discharge of its obligations under the guarantee, and delegate to the chief executive the authority to negotiate, agree and sign to give effect to this resolution.
To sign the terms of the relevant documentation to give effect to this resolution.
You going, Jane? All good. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8, page 185 on your papers, capital reforecast. Over to you, Stu, Jeremy.
This is a regular process for us in order to keep the capital program current and up to date in terms of budget. So there are a number of suggested adjustments to budgets, and that impact is a $7 million decrease current year. Happy to take any questions or take this through.
Questions, councillors? None at all. Well, I'll be happy to move. Contents of the report, approve the proposed budget changes and to renote the approval recommendation to reduce and deliver a net reduction of 7 million, 2022-23. District Renate. We have a seconder? Gavin, all those in favour? Aye. All those against? Motion carried.
Excellent, thank you.
Got away easy. Item 9, licence for the Otago Regional Council water monitoring communication stations at Millstream and Hayes Creek, Lake Hayes. Aaron, welcome. Over to you.
I've nothing really to add to the report, but certainly happy to answer any questions.
Questions, councillors?
I've just got one comment. It's pleasing to see ORC actually doing something in this space, and with that in mind, I'd like to support it.
One moment, and we have a seconder from Lisa. So we have the motion before you. Nothing has changed. I'm not reading that one out. So all those in favour? Aye. All those against? Motion carried. Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks.
Item 10, page 202, Class 4 gambling and TAB venue policy review. Sharon.
Sharon's not here.
Sharon here? Okay, we'll suspend that one. I think the next one's along the same. So that's carry. Now, item 11, page 244. Draft alcohol restrictions in public places bylaw 218 consultation. We've carried.
A bit short on reporters at the moment. On
too fast.
Too fast, slow.
All this rapid moving secondly and half.
No, they're just coming.
They're not used to this place. You may wish to consider the hearing panels at each of these.
Okay, right. That's a good point, actually. So which one? Karen.
Do items 11 and 12? Oh, yeah.
10 at this
Do you
point.
want 10 first?
10, please, yeah. We'll keep it in numerical order and
What are we on?
we're back to page 202.
Back to the gambling one.
The gambling.
Sean and Stu's kind.
While we wait, we've got 3 councillors for the hearing panel on this one. So if anyone is eager, keen,
The gamblers.
jumping at the
conflict of interest.
What
What I would say is early in my term, I did the gambling. I did the earlier review of this one and I did the brothel bylaws. So
I've done them before too.
yeah, so I encourage you to do it. They are exceedingly interesting. And I say that genuinely because you learn something. And
Oh, sweet talking to you.
Yeah.
You talk about it.
tell you,
Sean.
Yes.
Welcome, Sean. Stu, back again. Over to you.
Over to Sean, take the paper as read, but happy to take any questions.
Questions?
Just give me a second, sorry. Other people, if you have questions, go for it. I think I have
And Stu, I know that Sharon's getting out to obviously come up with that.
While Esther's through for a question, do I have any volunteers to sit on the panel before I start plucking names?
Yeah, Lisa.
So we've got Gavin, Lisa.
Who's not here?
Matt.
Yeah, Matt, you get on it.
Matt and Vicky.
Matt. So it's only 3. So we've got Matt, Gavin and Lisa for the hearings panel when we get to that. Apology the day before.
Councillor Wong.
Sorry, this is going to sound very vague because I've noted something previously when I've read it and I don't quite understand my own notes. So I'm just going to frame it and see if you know where I'm coming from. You can explain it. So on page 211, it says on balance, it's recommended that the requirement for public notice be removed from the policy. Yes. And I've made note of it with question marks, and I can't remember why. So could you explain that, please?
Remove the public notification. Sorry, excuse me, out of breath. So the public notice requirement that we have in the policy currently is not actually a legal requirement.
That's right, yeah.
So because it's not a legal requirement, we have seen issues, has presented some issues should public notice be carried out. The main issues is that it could delay the decision date that council is required to give on an application, which is 30 working days. Sorry, excuse me. So yeah, they have a mandatory requirement for a decision of 30 working days.
Okay.
So, and a couple of things with public notice, because it's not a legal requirement, there's no guidelines on who can object. The reasons for objection, the objection period, there's no information like that out there.
Okay.
I have been working with our legal team, Mary Davenport. She's online. She might be able to answer some questions, and it was a recommendation from Mary to remove that from the policy.
Okay. So is that the one where they had to advertise public notice in one regional and one local paper? Was that?
Yeah, so that was a requirement.
Yeah,
we did have, but as I said,
yeah, that's what's been.
There's been no guidance on that. But as I say, Mary's online, so maybe she could provide further information.
Do you have anything further, Mary?
No, I think what is important through the chair, what is important to understand the priority is the mandatory time frame for decision making under the Act. And where you have, where you choose to do public notification, then you're in a position where you're using valuable time. And in fact, we can't meet that mandatory time frame with a reasonable consultation period and listening to objections and officers' reports and the times that they take. So if it's not a mandatory requirement, it's better that the public input be put into the review of the policy rather than individual applications. Also, just to remember that we are not the decision maker on these, that the DIA is the decision maker. So what we're doing is looking at a community check as part of our functions under the Act.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Two things. I mean, one, that it's pretty tight, isn't it? That the ability to establish new gambling venues is very difficult, sinking lead and all that sort of stuff. The protection of sensitive parts of our community are pretty tight, aren't they? Yeah. So just the other one is that the deprivation maps make absolutely no sense to me whatsoever, and that some of them are the highest value properties in the district, like Waimana Place and stuff like that. So I just wonder if you can speak to the how does deprivation establish, because there's no correlation.
The information was just provided from the website, which
I might get a little bit of clarification. The deprivation index is the opposite to this whole system in schools, so ranking of 10 close to 1. Was it least deprived?
So on those maps, the orange areas, the darker areas are the most deprived, according to that. So we've got 7 and 8s in some places, maybe 5s and 6s, but regardless, the most deprived areas on those maps don't relate to any practical on-ground realities, is my concern.
No, they probably don't in the Queenstown Lakes District context. I mean, the requirement to address deprivation largely is aimed more at the larger metropolitan centres, where we see gambling venues moving into low decile suburbs. We simply don't have that situation here. So they are a little bit of an anomaly in the way that we have to address them in this policy.
Right, okay, I mean, I suppose it's just important to acknowledge that they
Don't really
relevant.
So where do the maps come from?
They'll,
2018 decile.
yeah, they'll be New Zealand,
So 5 years out of date.
They're from DIA. They're from DIA.
They are pretty extraordinary.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? No.
Can I just interrupt there? I'd just like to bring your attention that the public objection period has been recommended to be moved out. So on the public consultation. Yeah.
I was just about to get to that one. Is that where you're talking from the 3rd of April 2023 to the 5th of May 2023?
Yeah, so that's been updated and I don't think reflected in the.
Yes, I was about to mention that one. Brilliant. Okay, so 1 and 2, the recommended resolution before you, 1 and 2 stay the same. So at 3, the proposal is to adopt the statement of proposal outlined in attachment D for consultation in accordance with the special consultative procedure outlined in sections 83 and 86 of the Local Government Act from 3 April 2023 to 5 May 2023. And 5 will appoint a panel of councillors to be Councillor Guy, Wong and Bartlett to consider submissions and make recommendation to the council on adoption of the policy. So those are the 2 changes in the proposed resolution before you. Do I have a mover? Okay, seconder, Brenton. All those in favour? Against? None. Motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, item 11, page 244 on your council papers. You can take the chair and move around. It's fine, G. I got told I was OCD over chairs before, so I can understand your. Right, draft alcohol restrictions in public places bylaw 2018 consultation. Carrie, take it away.
Kia ora, happy to take the report as read. I guess preference would be to deal with both bylaws discreetly, so let's start with alcohol and address those. Any questions and turn to recommendations?
So part of this review will be the temporary extension that we're running over the Christmas Eve period, whether will be discussed during this, but also the maps the extent of the liquor ban areas. Is that correct?
Through you, your worship, there's no proposed change to the geographic ban areas proposed. There are changes proposed to the dates.
So with that in mind, I mean, why haven't the maps been reviewed? Because the police do have views on changes to the geographical boundaries. Have we consulted with them, and why aren't those changes included in the consultation document?
Through you, your worship, at this stage, police don't have any recommendations for changes to the geographical boundaries, but it's of course open to them to propose those through the formal consultation period. But we've been closely involved with them throughout, and at this point, they haven't proposed any.
That's not my understanding that they do have a view, certainly in Monica, of the boundaries, what would make sense around adjusting the boundaries. So, yeah, I mean, I encourage you to engage with them. I suppose we can do that through the process, and that they are our key partners in this document. So we need to make sure we're working closely with them.
Yeah. Sorry.
A couple of things. On page 249, there's an item there about crate date, continuation of crate date in Queenstown, and it says in
paragraph 33, it starts at 8 AM on the day of Crow Day and ends at 8 PM the next day.
Should be 8 AM.
I wanted to know whether that should have been 8 AM or whether it's intended that it's basically 2 days.
It's 8 AM. I had that same question. That was my question. In the document further down, it's 8 AM. It's just 24 hours.
Right.
Should be 8 AM instead of 8 PM.
Okay.
At para 33.
Thank you. I will ensure that that is.
Well, at that time, is there already a ban from 8 PM to 8 AM anyway in place? So should the Crow Day ban just go from 8 AM to 8 PM on Crow Day or not? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, I see.
We've got, so Stu, you want to say something?
So it needs to be the following morning.
8 AM, yeah.
Through you, your worship, my understanding would be that it would begin at 8 AM on the day of Crow Day.
Yeah.
And it would end at 8 AM this day subsequent.
The following day, because the normal ban would kick in at 8 PM that day anyway and carry through to 8 AM the next day.
Well, that's, yeah, that's.
I think that's Gary's point. We've got a double ban.
Yeah,
So it should go from 8 AM to 8 PM on Crow Day, and then the 8 PM to 8 AM is already there anyway. Is that right?
in theory, that would make sense, yes, because you are banning Crow Day
And I
itself.
don't have a problem with having a double ban. but-
Double ban.
I I think that perhaps, I think Councillor Bartlett's right. I think probably from a balance and base approach, there may be an instance where if our generic ban gets changed, then at least having this one explicitly banned for that extra period probably just avoids having to amend that again. Okay, my next question is just about the maps themselves. So there's new maps in this new bylaw and the old maps are being deleted.
Through you, your worship, correct. The idea is that the proposed maps are slightly more user friendly than what was in the old bylaw, but open to feedback on that.
Agree with that. So then just to clarify though, there's a couple of discrepancies between the Crow Day map and the ordinary map. One does include the wet ground, one doesn't. Is that intended? Or should they both include the wet ground?
Through you, your worship, the inclusion of the park area, because that was a targeted Crow Day
Right.
spot. It's not been indicated as such for the remainder of the year.
And then both of them include all of Park Street, but they don't include Jubilee Park. Should that be included as well?
Through you, worship, I mean, if we get submissions indicating that it's a problem area from police, we will certainly be putting that to council to deliberate on it. At the moment, we don't have evidence.
Yes, my question was that Park Streets obviously seem to be an area of concern, but Jubilee Park, if it's identified that it's an open slab area, then people will go there. But potentially. That was my question, whether it should be included or not. On the submission.
Well, that could come out in the submissions. Any further questions? I'm going to pick on you all again. And I had 3 questions. I just, from 3 different councillors, and I'm including you, Councillor Cox.
Well, I've got a conflict.
Oh, have you?
Well, I see.
Oh, so okay, so we're going to take you off. So I've got Councillor Smith and Bartlett again. You got the 2. Yep. Councillor Tucker. Come on.
Hard to be on both sides of Crow Day,
It's good to see a young perspective come through. And one more, so I've got Smith, Bartlett, Tucker. Thank you, Fergie. So it's Councillor Smith, Bartlett, Tucker and Ferguson. Right, we have the motion in front of you there, items 1 through to 8. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Esther. Seconder. Thank you, Gavin. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Item 12, consultation draft activities in public places bylaw 2023. Carry again.
Happy to take the report as read and answer any questions.
Questions? Councillor?
So did the hawkers licenses and stuff still come under this bylaw? Hawkers licenses?
Was that you selling, sorry, just to clarify, selling?
Yeah.
Through your worship, I believe so. I mean, I think that it's come down to the terminology that's been chosen through the bylaw, and there's a bit historic that we use the word busker and training, and we don't use the term hawker. But I think if you look at the definitions section, for all intents and purposes, it would cover that scenario.
So if someone has a ice cream van and was wanting to sell on council land, they'd require a permit under this
Training activity,
and there's limited timeframes or something and stuff like that.
Through your worship, correct. I think there also would be some food registration requirements as well that sit outside that.
So Hawthorne would be covered as a trading activity.
Okay.
All good. Any further questions, councillors? Right, I've gone through the names, we need 4 more, and the ones that haven't put their names up previously, I have 4. So they are councillors Gladding, Cox, Bruce and Whitehead. We're happy with that one?
Why do we have to have 4 for these 2 and 3 for the 2?
No, if you know, it's 4 appointed, only 3 are required to
3 are
constitute
required.
the committee. It's just recognising that at times we often have someone who on the date is not available.
The first one we did only
No,
for
there's
3.
some we didn't.
Still making
But-
it wrong.
You can, yeah,
Still there, yeah.
you've still got a window. You've still got a window of opportunity.
You just got to fight for it.
Yes. All good. So again, I've got, you've got the proposed resolution before you, all 8 bullet points there with councillors Gladding, Cox, Bruce and Whitehead. There's the hearing panel. It's a big sigh. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Esther. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Cody. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? No. Motion carried. So pretty clear, wasn't it?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary.
Sure.
Is it up to 13? 13, item 13, page 347 on your papers. Queenstown Lakes District Council submissions. We have 4 of them. Hey, Penny,
Hi.
over to you.
So I think one of them is yours, 3 of them are mine, and we'll take them as read. Any questions?
Questions,
Let us
councillors?
know.
No questions, but I just wanted to thank you for the work we've done and also the process that you engaged us in, which I thought was really good. Worked it through with us, so thank you.
Thanks.
All good. Well, no further questions. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Cody. Seconder. Thank you, Lisa. All those in favour?
Aye.
All those against? That motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Executive's report. Item 14.
So thank you, Your Worship. Just a number of matters there. You'll note there are 2 travel requests, one for myself to be able to attend the Australia New Zealand Local Government Chief Officers Group meeting in Cairns in July. That's a group of councils from across largely Australia, but increasingly some of the New Zealand councils are also being part of it. So it's a professional development network. It meets in Australia and New Zealand. So looking for the opportunity to attend that. There's a second one, which is a request for travel to attend the 2023 Asia Pacific Summit that's being held in Brisbane. That hasn't been held for a number of years due to COVID, but again, it's a forum of mayors and senior leaders, specifically this year, I think, focusing on issues of climate change and sustainability in urban centres. You'll see there around connection, sustainability and legacy issues. You'll note and have had recommendations from the Wanaka Upper Clutha Community Board, who have recommended a series of amendments to their delegations in terms of reference. You'll consider separately under the PX part of this agenda, the climate reference group terms of reference, and the recommendations relating to the committee rounds. The final matter that is there is just to, no, that's those matters there.
Okay, just realised I'll step away from item 2. The report. So any questions for those items? Go Gavin, then we'll go Lyle, and then who gets them third.
Just a couple of things in the report, a section on committee meetings of the previous round. You've got the name of the committee or the board. The name of the councillor or person following it is the chair, I guess. And if that's correct, then the infrastructure committee on the last page of that should say Councillor Bartlett.
So it should. Yeah. My apologies for both of you for that.
And there's a spelling mistake in Councillor Ferguson's name.
I don't apologise.
That's good. Tough. Sorry.
Thank you, Gavin.
Any further questions?
So, yeah, just a point, we're a bit tricky. I'm just a wee bit wary. I understand conferences, overseas travel, and the use of something. And it's very unfortunate we're actually doing this today in light of annual plan fitting. I'm just talking about perception out there, the message we're sending. We tighten our belts everywhere else, and then we are asking for overseas travel for important conferences. But I just want to raise that I'm a wee bit wary of this and concerned about the message that the community may take from that, and I'm welcome any comment on it.
Look, I'm happy to comment on that. I think, look, I agree, and obviously we don't want to spend money unnecessarily. I would probably note that this is the first time in at least 3 or 4 years that we've requested any overseas travel. I think actually by any standards, we're very parsimonious when it comes to travelling to conferences and those sorts of things. But I do acknowledge that, yeah, some people will draw and see some sensitivity associated with that. But I don't think it's unwarranted in the overall scheme.
No, I understand that. I just raised it as I think it's just unfortunate timing, and I realise we've been through a few years, but it's just.
If I recall correctly, you were about to go overseas when COVID arrived, weren't you? With Jim, you and Jim were about to go to the States or something?
Yeah, that was there, and it's that was the last one. That's correct.
It was approved but unenacted.
I wonder if that resolution's still live. No, that's correct. That's right.
Is there normally a budget for this sort of thing?
Well, effectively, mine would be effectively drawn out of what should be my sort of professional development budget, which really never gets hit, and the other one will be basically taken out of the general operating budget.
Who was it?
Yeah, just do we get a report back, Mike, from Summit meeting?
The Summit, certainly, yeah.
Cool.
Probably less likely from the local government one, which is really up to discussion among CEs, but very happy to report back on the other one.
Great, thank you.
And Lisa, and then raised.
Mine's probably a comment. I think it's really important that we have visibility at some of these events. I know that they're hard to prioritise budget for sometimes, but through attending various local government conferences over the years, sometimes Queenstown is quite conspicuous by our absence in attending these things as far as council staff and officers, and I think it came through in our quality of life survey around that pride in the area and being able to establish our relationship across other authorities and really joining in that collaborative problem solving as a nation and as Oceania and the bottom part of the South Pacific. So while I know there's consideration around the expense, and I trust council staff and officers to make that with due care and consideration think there's definite value to us working more collaboratively with our Trans-Tasman partners and our other local authorities.
Thank you. I guess I was just trying to work out how you prioritise these two particular conferences. Were there other opportunities that you have looked into and chosen not to go to? Like, what's the value add of these? And how did these particularly come about above others?
Yes, I personally get invited to all sorts of different venues and conferences all the time. I pretty much choose which ones are of value that I feel provide value to council. This one is, as the CEO was saying, it's about sustainability, climate change, which is a hot topic. I think they actually choose which councils get invited, and it was more to do with high growth metro to deal with the sorts of problems we're facing. So my personal view, it was an opportunity where we could see how other different municipalities are actually tackling the same problems we are. So that's the sort of the reasoning why I said I think we should go to this one. And others we just so that's just part of the reasoning behind why I put it towards you today. Any further questions? So what we'll do here, I'll call for a mover and seconder. I'll be abstaining from number 2. So we'll vote 1, 3 and 4 together, and then we'll do 2 at the end. That's okay. Right, so do I have a mover?
1, 3 and 4.
1, 3 and 4. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions on 4?
Sorry? Oh, it's a good point.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, 4. Oh.
Hello. I know the government subcommittee have gone through this. That came up a while ago and we did it. But I'm assuming the increases to match expectations around what's received as appropriate remuneration for the board of directors.
Yeah, so when the government subcommittee considered this, it considered a report that was commissioned through the Institute of Directors. The changes, there has been no change in the remuneration for directors at QAC. Stu, correct me if I'm wrong, I think for about 8 years. Sorry, we haven't adjusted the remuneration for directors at the airport for at least 8 years. About that. So, yeah, so this is in some respects, and the adjustments that were recommended is very much middle of the road. So we think this is a fair adjustment for those directors to receive.
Agreed.
There's no motion relating to the climate reference.
We're just talking about this right now. It's in the
Yeah, it's in here.
No.
No,
that's
it's
the
not. It's still
membership.
That's the membership.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the terms of reference are in the
Yeah.
chief executive report, but there's
Yeah,
no
that's
motion
good.
relating to it. And I don't know whether it's sufficient just to note that. We probably do need to approve terms of reference.
It's going to make it 5.
Yeah.
Agree to the terms of reference.
That would be, yeah. I have to check, I'm not sure with the terms of reference have been used. But it would, I mean, it's no harm to confirm the terms of reference of climate reference.
Could we do it under 49 instead of putting it under this, or is it more appropriate?
Well, it's already in the public forum. It's in the
Yeah.
public paper, so it should be approved
Yeah.
in public papers.
So it's 5.
I'm just wondering, does it refer to the composition, not including councillors now, is that a change, or is there not the membership? It's okay, so
And
yeah,
the
it takes
honorary-
away, it takes away
council
the council of
position.
position, so it is a change, yeah. Which is a substantive change, so I think it does require us to be to approve it.
You're saying only 1 room, 1 second. For the
Yeah.
5, no, we
Yeah.
separated.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, so we'll be doing 1, 3, 4 and 5 together, and 5 is a new one, agreed to the terms of reference for the climate reference group. And then we'll do 2 separately, but I only need 1 mover and seconder for the whole 5. It's clear? Yeah. Okay, all good. So we'll start in one mover. So Esther. Brendan second. So this is 1, 3, 4 and 5. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Okay, they have all passed unanimously. Number 2, I'll abstain. So all those in favour? Aye. And against? Which have got 7-1. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. PX. That's right, public excluded. Is the live streaming off?
I move that we enter in public exclusion.
So you look to move in public before you continue.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. I'll second that. Sorry, brain fart there. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Motion carried. Now, we'll get it off.
That we're up to this tomorrow.
Goes to someone by shuts down.